Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Kurt Leavins. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, Dave. That's been an entertaining day at the rink, huh?
I just watched the one game, honestly, and I watched it twice because the first game I was doing this, like I do this thing of social media and mainstream media reacting, and I'm doing the grade A shots. And then halfway through the game, news broke of Paul Coffey.
Right.
So I wanted to watch the whole game again to make sure I had, first of all, the grade A shots right, and just to get really watch the game. And that was a fantastic hockey game.
It's good.
That was a very interesting hockey game.
Yeah, I thought Canada was lucky. I thought Canada was quite clearly the best team, but I thought Czechia, I really thought they played well and showed up and were full measure for how close the game was.
The grade A shots were 19-16 for Canada, with the subset of 5 alarm shots, the most dangerous shots, 9-8 for Czechia. And if anyone thought or hoped Canada would kind of cakewalk through this tournament, the Swiss game was the first indication that wasn't going to happen. And now this game is proof that that's not going to happen. There's two tough games ahead of them. And this was a really tough game against a good team.
I think there's more parity in this tournament than there's ever been. There's more good teams. There's more good players. The talent is spread around. I don't think we should expect any of the best teams to cakewalk through anymore. Honestly, I just think the game has changed that much and its borders has expanded so far that we're going to get results like this going forward.
I mean, Czechia has always been a great hockey nation versus Czechoslovakia. I mean, it was like, for a long time, it was the third best hockey nation, like for, let's say, from 1960 to or 65 or something like that.
Behind Canada and the USSR, right?
To about 2000, arguably. Mm-hmm. So, behind the big two at that time. And now, obviously, the USA and Canada moved to the forefront. Russia's not here. If Russia was here, they would be a devastatingly dangerous hockey team because of the amount of scoring they have and goaltending, but they're not here.
Still think they'd be the 4th or 5th best team in the Olympics, and it's a damn good thing they aren't here.
So, Kurt, on to Finland, but let's get into it with 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. And of course, at the end of the podcast, we will talk at length about what the Paul Coffey coming back to the Edmonton Oilers. Kurt, what is we'll 2 good things each, because obviously a fantastic game, fantastic win. What's your first good thing?
I'm going to go with the goaltending. You and I had a really good debate about Binnington before we went into this game. And I think our consensus was we would have gone with the other guy if we were the coach. I guess that's why we're not the coach. But you'll recall I said, well, I think they should go with the other guy. I think they will go with Binnington. And indeed they did. And, in tournaments like this, there are people who will look at save percentages and judge the quality of goaltenders. And I think in tournaments like this, it's not that save percentage doesn't matter. It's not the most important thing. It's the big saves at the critical times is what separates good from great goaltenders. And Binnington, who I thought was fine for most of the game today, late in the third period and in overtime made 2 saves that are probably the 2 biggest reasons why Canada is still in the hunt for the gold medal.
Yeah, his save on, last minute of the game, and Martin Necas, maybe the best non-Canadian player in the game right now. Like, he's on the list, and he broke in on the breakaway, and an incredible, had a good deke. Taves was catching up on him a bit and did get a bit of a stick on him, but he got off his shot that he wanted, I think, and that was absolutely huge. And then in the 3-on-3 overtime, they executed a pass across, and McKinnon was a little late getting back on the back check, and it went cross seam, and boom, cross seam shot. Just another really difficult moment for the goalie, and he came up huge. So there were 16 grade A shots. You'd expect about 4 goals. He let in 3. But those 2 moments just stand out. They kind of overshadow everything else. I was judging Binnington. We both were. And I did a poll. It was, I had predicted 70% would want to see Logan Thompson. It was 60%. So you were right on that, Kurt. You thought it would be less than, I can't remember what you said anyway.
Yeah, but I did think a big majority, and 60 is still a big majority.
60 is a big majority. So it's not like this is an unusual opinion that Logan Thompson should have started. And frankly, we don't know what the game would have been like if Logan Thompson, maybe it wouldn't have been as close. Maybe Canada would have been even better. We don't know that. But Binnington was okay to good early in the game, and then he was fantastic. So I have to give the coach, this is what the coach saw, right? This is what the coach foresaw. This is why he went with Binnington. The coach has been proven right on this one with Binnington. I'm still worried about Binnington, if I'm completely honest, but I'm less worried. Those were fantastic saves. And the rebound issue wasn't as pronounced this game as it had been previously, or maybe they just dropped right. But he was, Kurt, he just, you can't, that's as big a play as the goals by Suzuki and Marner, that stop on Natchez. So way to go, Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, there's folks out there who try to look back at history and denigrate the game of Grant Fuhr based on his save percentage. And if you didn't watch those games in the moment and appreciate how much of a big game goaltender Grant Fuhr was, then I'm sorry for you. Because he was the best big game goaltender of his era. It's arguable that Binnington is the biggest big game goaltender of his era. He's making a case for it on 2 massive international stages, no bigger than the Olympics. They're going to win or lose with him now. I'll be shocked if there's a goaltending change now, unless there's an injury.
Yeah, no, they're going with Binnington. The difference with Fuhr, like there's a handful of goalies who, when I'm watching them, I have felt that with the game on the line, they will not be scored on. And Fuhr had that about him year after year. And Bernie Parent had that. And maybe there's been some goalies since then. I didn't watch as close, some of these other goalies as closely, like Hasek probably had that same vibe. Maybe Brodeur at times, maybe
Ken
Tim
Dryden
Thomas.
In his prime.
Pardon me?
Ken Dryden in his prime.
Tim Thomas in the playoffs that year. He was that
one
good.
Year, yes.
Yeah, that 1 year. The same feeling, like he will not be beat. Mm-hmm. I don't have that feeling yet with Binnington, if I'm completely honest. For me to put him in that class, he'd have to win this tournament and keep playing well. He could do it, and more power to him. I hope he does.
One more quick thing.
Go ahead.
I agree with you that Natchez is a terrific player, but he is not the best non-Canadian in this tournament. That would be Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, that's pretty good competition for him.
Yep.
My good thing are the role players, and so I am including like Nick Suzuki and Mitch Marner in that group, because on this team they're not the top line guys, they're not the top power play guys.
Fair enough.
They're big players, but they're on this team. Suzuki's the third, fourth liner. Marner's the second, third liner is how I would put it. Marner might be considered like in the top 6, though, I guess, on this team. He did play in the overtime, for instance. But it was a weird feeling watching this game because it felt so much like an Oilers game. And other Canadians might not be used to this kind of game where your team is behind and they're not playing well and they're kind of crappy, and they can't beat the goalie. The opposition goalie's pulling out his best stuff. That such a familiar feeling for an Oilers fan. And McDavid killing it. In the first 2 periods, they had 14 grade A shots, Team Canada, 14 of, and McDavid was in on 9 of them. He was ripping up this game, but it was like him and a few others, and that was it. And people were really starting to complain bitterly about the role players on Team Canada at that point. The internet was full of that kind of conversation and doubt and criticism. And what happened? Two role players came through big time. The play by Nick Suzuki. What I look for, because I go back to 1972 in terms of my formative moment in hockey, is I look for who's going to be the Bobby Clarke line in this tournament, which is essentially three, because Bobby Clarke was an unsung player relatively at that point. Three kind of unsung players: Henderson, Ellis, and Clarke. Guys in their 20s who are going to come through for the team unexpectedly. Who is going to be that guy? And so far from his play this tournament, I think Nick Suzuki's qualifying for that role. He's been fantastic. And I know that's not an opinion shared by everybody, but that's how I see it. I mean, he is a solid two-way player who hustles. Now, this game, he was struggling with the rest of the team. Everyone was struggling except for the McDavid line and Celebrini. And they put McKinnon with him in the second. But he had a shift where it starts out as what I would say a Matthias Janmark play, where he dumps the puck in at the end of a shift to gain time for the line change. And as not a bad idea, he followed it in to get more time and try to pin the puck in. And then what the idea is, you get right off the ice, right? So he charges in there. He keeps the puck in. He wins the battle. He keeps the puck in, and it's able to be cycled around. And he's able to get to the front of the net in time for a fabulous, not a fabulous, but an outside shot that gets through towards the net. And they score on the infamous Californian, the outside shot tipped in.
It was a fabulous tip.
It was a fabulous tip. And it was Taves, I think, who put it on net there. Yeah. Seth Jarvis passed it to Taves. And what a great tip shot by Suzuki. Then in overtime, that ties it up 3-3 with 3:27 to go. And then in overtime, it's Mitch Marner who gets a drop pass at center ice from Celebrini. Marner's at the blue line, and he's not even going super fast. He's probably going, 3/4 speed. As he crosses the blue line, he's kind of sizing things up, and there's players on either side of him right at the blue line. There's Celebrini on one side, and I think it's maybe Taves, or no, it's Harley on the other side. He could pass to either one, and they're expecting a pass because it's kind of 1-on-3 at that point with 3 Czech defenders back. And he has that calm of the great hockey player with the puck, where, oh, they're giving me this space, I'm going to take it. Oh, they're giving me this space, I'm going to take that too. Oh, now they're going to give me a breakaway, a little bit of a breakaway. I'm going to take that. And then he makes an incredible shot, backhand shot up over the goalie's shoulder. Backhand shots are so unpredictable. The goalie doesn't know where it's going, and it just really picked the spot. It was a fantastic skill play from Mitch Marner. And it enabled a whole host of people to troll Toronto Maple Leafs fans, saying things like, Mitch Marner was born to play with a Maple Leaf on his chest.
Well, allow me to pile on. Because you know what? 12 months apart, Mitch Marner has made arguably the two biggest plays in modern Canadian international hockey history, right?
Yeah.
The setup to McDavid to win the Four Nations last year, and then the brilliant effort in overtime to advance the Canadians this year. When you make big plays like that at critical times on huge stages, that makes you a big game player. And I don't know about you, Dave, but I wouldn't mind having a big game player on my team.
I just want to quickly give the grade A shots plus minus for the forwards, because I'm tracking them this. So in 4 games overall, McDavid has helped create 31 grade A shots, and he's not made a mistake on a grade A shot against. He's plus 31. Nathan McKinnon is plus 12. Bo Horvat is plus 10. Macklin Celebrini is plus 20. Nick Suzuki is plus 12. And Brandon Hagel and Tom Wilson are both plus 6. So Suzuki is right up there. And we're going to get into Crosby's situation, but looks like he's going to be a really key player. And I'm really glad he's on the team. He's playing well. He's an excellent hockey player. Kurt, your second good thing.
My second good thing is McDavid and Celebrini. There was talk for probably 6 months before this tournament about who would be on Connor McDavid's line. And there was certainly some chatter out there that it might be Celebrini. But I think a lot of that was wishful thinking from fans. Like, wouldn't it be cool if the young kid got to play, with McDavid? Wouldn't that be fun? I don't know too many people who wrote it in marker. But the one thing that you never know for sure you've got until you can see it and feel it, it's chemistry. And those two have a bottle full of it, man, between them. They just seem to have this instinctive sense of where each other is on the ice. They move at approximately the same speed, which is tough when you're playing with McDavid. And they seem to think the game on a comparable level. The kid's 19. People always whine and bitch about McDavid and Draisaitl playing together on the Oilers. I love it because you get to see two elite players on the ice at the same time, and as a hockey fan, it's just fun to watch. I get the argument against it, splitting up the lines, etc. Fine, but it's fun to watch. These two guys are not only fun to watch, but at this point, they're driving the offense for Team Canada. And if this chemistry didn't exist, and McDavid and Celebrini were not producing at the level they are, where might Canada be? It's been a revelation.
They are Canada's best hope for gold, right? Like I said, grade A shots for Celebrini, he's plus 20 at even strength. And that's 20. He's helped create 20 grade A shots in 4 games, and he's not made a mistake on a grade A shot against, according to what I've been watching. That's fantastic play. And, as the game was going along and there was a lack of offense from Team Canada, people were wondering, should we have brought in Bedard? Should we have brought in... And I do think it's hard to say. It's hard to know because young players don't always do well on Team Canada. Mm-hmm. It's not like a given. Sometimes they don't do well at all. And but it is interesting to think about that. The other hope for Canada, there's a couple. There's Binnington continuing to come up with huge saves, obviously, which is kind of critical. But the other big hope for Canada is, the 2 Colorado players, McKinnon and Makar. Mm-hmm. And so they'll be my second good thing. And they're both playing exceptionally well. They are. Nathan McKinnon, he got he got that goal, didn't he, tonight on the power play? Yeah, he hammered in that shot for McDavid. But really it's Makar who I love watching Cale Makar play hockey. He's almost terrific, as much as I love watching Connor McDavid. And if I was an Avs fan before an Oilers fan, it might be the other way around. His hand-eye coordination with the puck, his skating, like he's constantly doing those eagles on the ice, those where he's moving with his skates, toes out, moving side to side across the ice, head up, deking around players. He is such a dangerous attacking player. And man, the Team Canada would be nowhere without him. Like he is, in some ways, it's hard to say someone's more valuable than McDavid, the way McDavid's been playing, but because of the lack of other defensemen who have anywhere near the skill set that he does on Team Canada, he's critical to this team. And it's great that he's bringing his A-plus game. It's a delight to see both Makar and McKinnon bring their A-plus games. And Celebrini. I think McKinnon's a bit banged up. McDavid and Makar are bringing their A+. McKinnon's banged up, so let's say A-. But to see these best players at their best in the biggest tournament is fantastic. I wonder if it changes the MVP race with McDavid. The fact that he's been kind of head and shoulders above almost anyone else in this tournament, except for maybe Makar. But just so dominant. I wonder if it'll have any impact on how people see him as a player. Because
you mean the NHL MVP race?
In the NHL MVP vote this year, where it's
probably shouldn't be a
he's
factor,
not
right?
considered he's not a front runner. Like I don't think he's the front runner. McKinnon is. So
yeah, the Olympics probably won't be a factor because it's not NHL play.
Yeah.
You know how voters are, and I don't get me started. But it's if it was factored in, then yeah, I think it would be a mark in Connor's favor. But yeah, McKinnon has been terrific. You know, with Cale Makar, it reminds me of when Duncan Keith was at his absolute best. And there were a lot of good players on Chicago, just like there's a lot of good players on Team Canada. But often, many nights, Duncan Keith would command the game with his skating and his puck handling ability. He was just, even with all those great players on the Chicago team, he'd be the best player on the ice many nights. I get a very similar feeling of Makar, who I think ultimately may be a better defenseman than Duncan Keith, who's, Hall of Fame quality NHL player, so it's not a bad comparison. But when I watch him today, I don't think of Bobby Orr because they're not the same kind of player. I think more of Duncan Keith because I think their games are more similar.
No, imagine McDavid on defense. That's Bobby Orr. But
yeah,
so Makar, it's interesting. Like the one difference is like they're very similar defensively and moving the puck, Keith and Makar. The one difference is Makar's ability at the blue line to move in to create a really dangerous moment to deke people at the blue line. Yeah. But what a hockey player.
It's fun to watch.
Kurt, your bad thing.
Well, my bad thing is the injury to Sidney Crosby. And I think every Canadian is crossing their fingers and their toes, hoping that it's not as serious as it looked like it might be. I'm not exactly sure which hit caused it. It's almost as if it was a combination of a couple, right? I think probably initially it was the first one.
The Gudis hit where
where he buckled. Yeah. And then he tried to skate it off. I mean, if there is a good sign in quotes, it's that he was able to walk off under his own power. And I don't know if you saw the shot underneath the stands.
I did.
He's still like no one's carrying him. So that's, and a couple other things to consider. One, there's an MRI scheduled to see if there's any structural damage. That'll be critical, of course. And then the words of the coach after the game, in which he more or less said, I don't think this was Sidney Crosby's last game in this tournament. So who knows, that could be deflection, right? But I don't think there's any doubt that this is a way better team with Sidney Crosby in the lineup, because then you can go McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby. And the Americans can't match that. When you're three deep with those three centers, you win that matchup, and that'll be critical going forward.
He's been excellent defensively and really good on the power play, Crosby. And
just a great leader, right? You can tell how well respected he is.
Yeah. Fortunately, Canada did bring a lot of centers. Mm-hmm. And even if they play McKinnon with McDavid, they have Bo Horvat, who is one of these kind of, let's say, Clark Henderson-Ellis kind of players this tournament for Canada. He's really raised his game and is playing well. There's Suzuki, of course, who can play center. And then there's Sam Bennett, who is injured, but we don't know how injured. And he's been playing. When he did play, he played well, I thought. So,
and I don't think you mentioned it. Celebrini is a natural center.
Yeah, you're not going to break up that
I wouldn't.
Celebrini plays center.
Yeah.
Sam Reinhart, played
in the third period.
Yeah, as a younger player, right? Like in that.
Yes, and played tonight. So yeah.
If Crosby, let's say, has to miss a game, and then maybe he's back for the final. We'll see what happens.
For his sake as much as ours, honestly.
The Gudis was playing really nasty hockey, as he always does. That was a clean hit, though, I believe, that the one where he buckled his leg. And
I thought the Czechs were especially chippy.
They were, and they really complained a lot about that penalty that the defenseman took outside the scrum. He hacked McKinnon through. He cross-checked him twice and raised his stick once, like total interference. I had no sympathy for them based on I know in the NHL that would not be called. You could probably even cross-check him into the boards. It wouldn't be called.
I agree.
But this is international hockey, and you've been playing chippy stick hockey all game long. Serves you right to get a penalty called like that. And I didn't. That's very Canadian biased. I understand that. But they were playing chippy, borderline hockey with their sticks all game long. And that was a real, McKinnon's not in the scrum. He's outside the scrum. He's not participating in it, and he's getting banged on by this guy right in the back. And it's an injured player. They know he's injured already. I think that was the
deciding factor, is that he wasn't in the scrum. I think that's what the referees were looking at.
Yeah, and I just think, they think, what's this BS? What are you doing? Yeah. So get off the ice, you bum. Kurt, are we going to talk about the third Czech goal? Did we have a special moment for that?
Well, we can add another bad thing in. Why don't we?
Well, we are talking about the refs. So this is kind of like a subsection of the last bad thing, which the previous comment was a subsection of that. I didn't notice it. Like, it was other people who started pointing out. It just started popping up everywhere like dandelions on the internet. Did you notice it in the moment?
I did.
You did. I
didn't realize
busy.
It was 8.
8 players on the ice.
8 skaters.
And 6 of them were involved in the defensive zone, Kurt. How did Team Canada not start? Were they not screaming their heads off? How was that? You'd think the entire Team Canada bench would have been erupting, noticing that 6 players in the D zone, and they get a breakaway out of it and an odd man rush out of it.
I said too many men while I was watching that play, but I thought it was like by one. And you and I and everybody at home, we don't get the full view of the ice. I'm a little shocked that the people, as you say, in the arena didn't see that, where you've got the full 200-foot view, right?
I might go back and listen to the crowd and listen for any kind of eruption from the bench, because I didn't hear it at that moment. It was just this, poor nightmare for Harley. And then, this odd man rush. And I think because the goal was scored on an odd man rush with players entering the play later, it did have, that extra man wasn't just theoretically useful. It was key to the defensive play and key to the goal being scored. So for the Czechia coach to complain bitterly after the game about the refereeing, he should just shut his yap. Come on, man. You got one of the biggest gifts ever handed to you in international hockey. You could have killed off that bad penalty. Canada, they didn't have a whole heck of a lot of chance on a rush where there was 6 guys going. So
that officiating team should be done for the tournament.
Probably.
That's more than a boo-boo.
Yeah.
You changed the course of the game by missing us.
Yeah. I should say I have my Ben Stelter toucan today, but it's not mine. It's my wife. She played in the tournament, not me.
I couldn't quite read it. I've got my Pender Pirates hat on, but
Is that a ball team?
Yes, it is the ball team on Pender Island. So.
Do you play on it?
No, it's a kids team.
Oh, okay.
They're all better than me.
All right.
Numbers.
Is it my bad thing now? Yeah, it's my bad thing.
Oh, I guess we have a third bad thing. Why not?
Well, I haven't done my bad thing yet. So that was a subsection of your bad thing. My bad thing is one of the so let's say Binnington's good in that, then now Canada just has one problem. And it's essentially, many people are identifying it. This isn't news to anyone, but I did see it again this game. It's just struggles moving the puck for the defenseman. And Team Canada just is having struggles breaking the puck out of their own zone. And what really good defensemen do under pressure when they get the puck is they find a way to create time and space for themselves by quick maneuvering with their feet and body position with the puck. And you see this constantly from players like Makar and Harley, who make most of the and Drew Doughty used to be really good at this. Drew Doughty's still really good at making the pass, getting his head up and making the pass, but he's not so good at this. Shea Theodore's not bad at it. Morrissey, I think, is pretty good at it. So he's coming back. It might help with this. Yep. The other Canadian defensemen and Devon Taves to some extent as well are struggling with this. And Doughty is struggling with it a bit as well at his advanced age, whatever he is now, for a hockey player. horse years. And it's a little frustrating because, they left, and I'll just say this one time, they left Evan Bouchard at home. He would make such a huge difference to this team with his puck moving. And they're all making crappy defensive mistakes. We see all defensemen in big games make them. Bouchard wouldn't be on any kind of special place making bad mistakes. They're making a number of them. Taves and Parayko and Harley, they're all making typical Bouchard kinds of mistakes. But Evan Bouchard, what's the difference is what he brings as a puck mover. Man, do they need that. And what a mistake that was by Team Canada management not to include him. Parayko, there was one play in particular that kind of, and I don't want to, I am going to mention Parayko again because I thought he actually had his best game for Team Canada today. He in many ways he was solid physically, did okay moving the puck, had a couple dangerous shots. Like he wasn't the worst puck. Like he was part of a group of players who were struggling to move the puck. But there was one play where he just got the puck at center ice and McDavid kind of looped back and charged up the ice. He's about 10 feet away. There's no one between them, and McDavid's tapping his stick on there. Bang, 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 bang. And every time, if it's Bouchard, it's right on his stick right away, not thinking. And Parayko double clutched. He thought about it, and he didn't make that pass. And the puck was turned over. That's the game that puck moving isn't an elite skill for 2 or 3 of the Canadian defensemen. And it's a major flaw in Team Canada. And it's why they weren't able to more easily create grade A shots and rush chances against the Czech team. They're just not breaking out well, and it's because they picked the wrong players.
Yeah, well, let's be blunt. Team Canada's management team consciously chose not to bring another Edmonton Oiler. And as a result, they don't have, what Zach Hyman might have brought to the team, but germane to this conversation, they don't have that elite, not just good, elite puck moving skills of Evan Bouchard.
As good, right? Almost as good as Makar, if not, in his own way as
he's
good.
He's right in terms of pure offense. He's right there.
And yeah. Kurt, when the Czechs were packing the front of the net, parking the bus with all 5 players in front of the net, how do you break through that? You pass it back to a defenseman who can rip a hellacious slap shot on net and break down that zone with a rebound play or a goal from the point. They don't have those. They don't have that. They have Makar who can do that. Who else?
And look, people out there may accuse us of having this conversation with our Oilers glasses on. Fair enough. Insert Matthew Schaefer in instead of Evan Bouchard. Have another defenseman on the team with that high-end to elite offensive ability. And it just would have given you a different option. As you'll know, I was never one who said, Evan Bouchard's got to be in your top 6. I said, he has to be on your club. He has to be an option for you. And everybody that argued it against me, David, almost to the person, said, no, we've got McCarter on the power play. They were so focused on the power play, they forget that most of the games played at 5-on-5, right? So, as I've said before, I wish nothing but the best for all of these Canadians who are playing defense for Team Canada. But I see what you see. There is a gap in the transition of this team, and the gap didn't need to be as big as it is.
Now, if Morrissey is truly healthy and his legs are good, maybe, I don't know what his injury is. It sounds like he's skating fast, so it doesn't sound like his legs. Maybe it's more of an upper body thing.
Yeah, I heard his workout today was really hard. Like he skated for an hour, and the people who watched said he looks good. So, I mean, hard to imagine that he wouldn't be coming in unless there's some structural issue above the waist.
He could be a that could make a difference because he's really good at that. Like he's really good at transitioning the puck. Yep. He's just a really good player, like when he's healthy. So, that will make a difference for Canada.
Yeah.
But
he's one of their best four defensemen if he's in the lineup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Kurt, your number.
1992. It was on this date in 1992 at the Olympic Games that Canada beat Germany in a shootout. to advance in the Olympic tournament. The goal was scored by the winning goal in the shootout was scored by, everybody will remember this, by Eric Lindros. Do you remember who made the big save on the German team at the other end? Who was in goal for Canada in that game? Do you remember, Dave?
I don't know. I don't, because it was like a not best on best, so it's not like a huge focus for me.
It was Sean Burke in goal.
Nice.
Who do you think the shooter was for Germany?
Peter Draisaitl.
You got it.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Bang on.
Really?
Yep. This date in 1992.
Speaking of Oiler connections, it was weird to see Tomasek on the Czech team today. Like,
yeah,
he didn't
right.
particularly play well. I don't know if he played very much either.
Fourth line.
He was on that team.
Yep.
He's part of that team. So,
and I was watching this team. I thought these guys are a 3-line team, and the Canadians, even with Crosby out, they're still a 4-line team. Like the McDavid and Celebrini and McKinnon have certainly driven the offense. But I can't really point at a Canadian forward and say they've been bad, can you? Like, I think their forward unit's been really good.
No, because they all, like, so Marchand's yet to play well, I would say. Like, he's been okay-ish. And Stone's had a couple of really great moments. He's not the Mark Stone that we saw in the Four Nations last year, who was Canada's best winger. Like, according to my grade A shots data, he was. This year, he's kind of grading the worst. But he's had so many good moments. Like tonight, he did have that ugly turnover that led to a goal against. But he's had a lot of really good moments too. So I would agree that no forward has played poorly overall.
Yeah.
You know, you might hope for a little bit more, but
and the goaltending has come up big when you needed it to. I think so far. I think the question heading forward is the defense.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. You know, if Morrissey's healthy, like if. Like, let's say Crosby's kind of iffy. Would they go with 13 forwards? Is there extra player? You only just get one extra player, right? Like in 6D? Like, that might be an idea because, but who would they go with? So it's, you got to get the right ones. You've got to include whoever is, just line up your elite puck movers from best to worst and play them that way. That's what I would do. Because that's an issue right now.
And I think the other thing Team Canada has to do is not look ahead to the final. They got to beat Finland.
I would love to see.
Old baseball coach of mine always used to say, you got to get there to win.
Oh, yeah. And it's not going to be easy to beat Finland.
Nope.
I'd love a third pairing of Morrissey and Theodore or something like that. You know, like,
that'd be very
I don't know if that makes sense. But Theodore does play the right side in Vegas. So, yeah, that would be. And that would be a pairing that could really move the puck.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, it's not going to happen. I know that now. My number, Kurt. So, this is why the puck moving is so critical, Kurt, is related to my number. And my number is 5-1. This is the third period, grade A shots. The Czechs had 5 grade A shots. Team Canada had 1. And that one was the goal. That's not what you need when you're down in the final 7 minutes and 50 seconds, or in the third period where it's tied 2-2 is 1 grade A shot. That's all you can muster with that group of forwards. It just speaks to a real problem in offensive play on this team, which is shocking, but it's real. And so I hope they are looking at that analytically and thinking, what happened in the third period there? Why couldn't we mount pressure on the Czechs? Yeah, they were packing it in, but they got 5 grade A shots and a goal. Like, why couldn't we get anything going? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with our team? Be serious about that. Look at it and fix it, because it can be fixed.
Yep. For sure.
All right, I beat that to death. Kurt, let's move on to the Paul Coffey. Boy, Kurt, you and I have pushed for this, talked about this since November. It came up big time in January. You raised it again. You were the one who raised it then. And Stauffer talked. Like, it was funny, right after Draisaitl's outburst about, the players, the coaches, everybody needing to get better, Stauffer had a show Oilers Now, and when he just so strongly hinted Coffey was coming back, that I wrote a post like, "Welcome back, Paul Coffey." It was about 2 weeks ago now, week and a half, because it sounded. And then I was starting to think, is it gonna happen or not? And then second period, and in between periods of the second period, in the third period of Team Canada's quarterfinal game, they announce it, Paul Coffey back, which is weird timing. First of all, I just want to ask you about the timing of it. What do you think of that as a media person? And, why do it then? Is it because they had a practice then? And was Coffey there this morning? I don't even know that.
My guess, no. My guess is that someone had the scoop and told the Oilers they had the scoop. And it was, I'm going to print this, I'm going to publish this at 5:00. And the Oilers knew that, so they said, okay, this can't come from someone else. This has to come from the organization. And so I think that was probably behind the time.
And then if they have that, then they can get the players to talk about it. And the players generally, I listened to the interviews between Bouchard, Ekholm, and Wallman, and they all put a pretty positive spin on it, right?
Yeah.
So that they want to get that out there, because there's a lot of controversy about this. It's not a small amount of controversy. I was listening to Nick Kiprios' show out of Toronto, and he says this is like he's never seen anything like this, and he feels like it will be hard for Knobloch to survive this in time. Like, he just doesn't see how he can do that. I disagree in that I think Knobloch can survive this by putting together a good run right now and a good playoff run. He's been a really good coach. Why can't he survive this? Would be my, so I don't agree with his opinion, but I do think it is, I think it's clear there's some iffy blood between Knobloch and Coffey. That said, I really like the move. One final fact on this, Kurt. Before Coffey came and then after he came, there's about a difference. The improvement in the team is about a half a goal a game when Coffey was there, compared to before and compared to after. He made it, like, I don't want to say he made it, but his being on the team correlates with about a half goal a game improvement in the Oilers. It's pretty hard to ignore that.
Yep.
What's your take?
Well, I have a few takes. First of all, I think there's potentially significant benefit for the defense. And as soon as we heard someone say, maybe it was Bob, maybe it was someone else, say the organization was hoping that this defense improves organically, right then and there I thought, well, okay, then they're going to change the coaches that are coaching the defense. Because how else are you going to get the best out of Darnell Nurse and Jake Wallman, except go back to the guy who they played really good under? That seemed blindingly obvious to me. And based on his record coaching the defense, I think this is a strong tactical move. I think the people that are just looking at it as a defensive decision are missing how much that Paul Coffey brings behind the scenes, his swagger, his confidence, his outspokenness. I think all that can have a real benefit on a team. I've been thinking about this a lot since it was announced. Good for Chris Knobloch. At the end of the day, even if, let's say, it was grudgingly so, he nodded his head and said, okay. Right? He would have always had his power to say, no, if you want this guy in, I'm out. And he could have walked away. He chose not to. He's chose to stay there and to fight another day and say, if everybody thinks this guy can fix this and make us better, I'm going to do it. That's the kind of attitude you want. I alluded to this the last podcast we did, which is, look, if you're so worried about Paul Coffey that you can't have him on your bench, well, then get out of the way. Well, it's pretty clear to me Chris Knobloch has put the team first in this situation by being okay with Paul Coffey coming back. So I want to give him kudos for that. I think it's quite possible Paul Coffey might have learned something as well from his first tenure behind the bench. And understanding just how much weight his words carry in the room and with the coaching staff. And to remember that he's there as a coach and not as a member of the head office. I think if Paul Coffey can keep those two things separate, I think this is a win every day of the week and twice on Sundays. That's my take.
They had to do it. The obvious problem in this team is they can't keep the puck out of the net. They're allowing 2 more grade A shots per game than they did last year. It's a significant number.
And the transition game hasn't been good with most everybody except Bouchard, right?
Wallman is struggling defensively. Stastny and Regula, who's just been sent down for a conditioning stint
Nurse has been off and on.
Bakersfield. Nurse has been up and down. Bouchard and Ekholm are thriving, but they're Bouchard and Ekholm. They're going to thrive under any coach. You can just leave them alone and they'll thrive probably.
More or less, yep.
So they had to do this because you can't get the kind of improvement you need from such a large number of players without, you can't justify going forward in a team in the McDavid-Draisaitl era in their championship window without trying everything. They're trying this. Over 50
turn over
games,
every rock, right?
They experimented with that other thing. It didn't work. It clearly didn't work. So now you try this. Now they don't have a lot of time before the trade deadline, and it might not change their trade need, but it looks to me like they still need a defenseman as their number one priority. Coffey wouldn't be able to have a big enough impact quickly enough to know whether they should change their trade priority or not from a defenseman to a forward. But, we'll see what the market gives up too, right? Trades also come down to what's available at what price. So they might, in the end, trade for a forward because there's not a good deal for a defenseman. But I still think they need a defenseman, a veteran defenseman who can defend and move the puck adequately, at least, if not well. And good for Knoblauch. What do you think, Kurt? I think he would be able, I think because he's been to the Stanley Cup Finals, he wouldn't go through Jay Woodcroft-itis, where you're sitting on the sidelines for a couple of years, because he had such playoff success and because he's such a decent human being, smart coach. You could see someone thinking, oh, we could use a really great person and great coach like that in our. I think he would get another job quickly.
Yeah.
So I think he did have power here.
I've read and heard the theories from several people who I won't name. That they thought if Coffey comes in, Knoblauch's finished. And I've heard people also say Coffey won't come in because then Knoblauch would be finished. And of course, Coffey's here. I don't think there's any risk of Chris Knoblauch losing his job. There's nothing but upside here. This is a guy that's been to the Stanley Cup playoffs twice. If Paul Coffey comes in and they even just get back to the Final Four, David, that's not an abject failure. Would you really toast your coach because of that? I don't think so. A guy who took you to back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals and you just signed a long-term contract with? I just don't buy that argument. I don't see it.
I think if they get back to the Final Four, Knoblauch will be back as coach. I could see if they went out in the first round, maybe even the second round, depending on how they went out in the second round, that he would lose his job, because it's the NHL and coaches lose their job all the time. So It's not shocking. It is this, you got to win. You bring in a new, we tried this 3 years. We came close. So, but if he makes it to the Western Conference final, in a pretty trying year when they're bringing in a lot of new players, when they don't have much cap room this year, particular year was a really tough year for the cap. Yeah, I think they would bring him back. And I would be surprised if they didn't. And I think he would have definitely earned it to make, the Final Four is like, let's face it, for, 30, 40 years of the NHL, if you got past 6 or 7 teams, that meant you won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad achievement to win the division, essentially, and get to the Final Four. That's a good coach. That's a good team. And there's no shame in that at all.
Some things you're going to have to change on the cap front, right? They're going to have to move Mangiapane. Either trade him or farm him out. And I think the other obvious salary to move is Matthias Janmark, who I respect what he has brought this team in the past. I thank him for his efforts. He just doesn't look like a regular NHL player anymore. And I think that salary is better spent elsewhere.
Go with youth. I mean, Josh Szymanski has been one of the stories of the Olympic Games, like for Germany.
Mm-hmm.
One of the hockey
One of the best
stories.
young players, him and Celebrini are two of the best young players in the Olympics. Yeah.
Play him. Play Matt Savoy. Maybe bring up another guy. Let's see what Robbie Yarventi can do. Let's see what we didn't see much of Quinn Hudson. Ike Howard. Like, I just think it's time to make maybe a bit of a bet on youth up front as well. Mm-hmm. And trade for a defenseman, like a veteran defenseman, and then bet on the young guys and see if you can get that going. And, there are some veterans, Curtis Lazar, for instance, who can help in your bottom four, but I agree with you on Janmark and Mangiapane. They're not helping. I think Trent Frederick might actually help.
On the fourth line, I think I predict he'll come back from the break like it's a brand new season, and we'll see a new Trent Frederick.
Maybe you'd have a fourth line of Lazar, Frederick, and Yarventi. Or maybe they'll trade for another aggressive fourth line winger. Mm-hmm. But I could see that working out for the Oilers. So we'll see what happens, Kurt. I guess any other thoughts? Final thoughts?
You already mentioned it, but Regula down for a conditioning stint. I guess that means he can get some games in Bakersfield without having to clear waivers, right?
Is it 4 or 5 or 6, something like that? I can't remember how many.
Yeah, if our friend Ira was here, we'd ask him. As yes. We always joke, should we talk about the cap or should we wait until Ira's here?
Now we're hesitant. Now we don't even go there.
And now we just wait until Ira's here.
Now we just wait. Yeah,
Hi, Ira.
We wait till we can go. We wait till we can get on social media and then ask Ira behind the scenes. Ira, tell us what to think about tell us what the facts are about this.
He's such
situation.
A smart guy. Yeah.
It's brilliant. All right, Kurt, thanks for talking today.
Thanks, David.
And thanks to the smartest, wisest, sanest hockey fans in the world, the faithful. And in the meantime, and in between time, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.